Okay, here's a video explaining this 440-8 machine I have for sale. The things that have been done to it and the things that need to be done to get it up and running. And I'd say this machine's about half restored. So I need to kind of break this into compartments to go over it. So let's first start with the transport. Now it's powered on right here. So let's show that the transport works. So this is actually the high speed. Let's try the 15 first. This machine is a 15-30 inches per second machine, which is different than your 7.5/15 inches per second, which is the standard. Different capstan motor to accommodate that. So here's some fast forward. And like all Ampex machines, if you let this just keep going, actually that's going pretty good, but to slow it down, you have to rock it back and forth, right? So if I were to press stop in the middle of that, it would have broken the tape in half. So all Ampex machines, 440 machines, need to be rocked back and forth to stop. This transport has been recapped. Let me just show you the transport box here. So all those electrolytics here are new. I had an issue with this transistor here which was bad and caused the machine to be in runaway mode, like in fast forward and rewind. So the only way to switch it off was to power it down. It wasn't getting the relay signal, I believe, to be able to stop or slow down. But I replaced that with some help from some folks online, and the transport is functioning pretty darn well. So this is 15. Let's pump it up to the 30 inches per second. Pump it up setting. So yeah, that's hauling pretty good. I don't have any 30 inches per second machines except this. You can hear when it gets up to speed there. That's indicative to my 2-track machine, which is over here and functioning really well. Okay, so what else needs to be said about the transport? Yeah, that's about it, except for one really crucial thing. So I'm gonna get down here and look at the counter roller. Still spinning. So that under there, I needed to rotate at 90 degrees because the guy I bought the machine from had this position over here, which is where it should be if you didn't have this middle roller here. So the tape would feed into the tension roller here around the counter roller, but because of this, it needed to be flipped 90 degrees. When I did that, I couldn't really figure out how to remove it. So in, a nightmare scenario, not that bad really, I opened up the counter roller. See if you can see it here. This part here, I opened up the lid and out comes a bunch of fluid, right? Oh, great. Bad problem. Well, it was about, I would say, 1/8 of a cup to 1/4 cup of fluid. And come to find that what that is Dow Corning Series 200 silicone fluid. So one of the first priorities in restoring this machine is that counter roller needs to be pulled out and filled to the brim with Dow Corning Series 200 silicone fluid. I'm hesitant to even use the transport much because it's like residual fluid that's in there as it is, and it almost seemed like there wasn't enough to begin with when I opened that thing up. Okay, anyway, so let's throw it into record here. We're at 30, and I'll explain why there's only 4 channels powered up at the moment. But I mean, the channels are getting the record signal. Transport working smoothly. I need to move on to the different... first I should actually talk about the cards. Okay, so I need to mention that the way I've tested out certain components of this machine is I have a cherried out 442 track here that I use all the time. So any component I have that I want to test, I can put like an electronics channel in here, use my cards, which I know work great, and test just an electronics channel from the 440-8. Or I can put cards in here and use these electronics, which I know work great, and test those. So it's a way that I had to kind of delineate some of these problems. So if we're talking about the cards here, this is another one of the bummers here in trying to restore this thing fully, is that when I tested all of these, which are like 24 of them, right, in my 2-track, I'm getting like, I want to say 60% of them are fine. And then the others, it got to the point where I'd be like, I'd test 8 of them, and 5 of them would be good. 3 of them would be like, why am I not getting signal in repro or something? And it was the card. And so I didn't label them, and I regret that now. But I mean, what they really need is like somebody with a bench power supply who can go through all of them and be like, these ones are good, these ones work, so you know what you got. That's like a big bummer, because I think that in each case where one might not work, it might be because it's a trimmer capacitor that's like shorting out, or it's a transistor that is not up to snuff, or it could be a wide variation of things in the cards. Now, let's move on to the electronics chassis themselves after that, because that's a different story. Because I'm able to test these out in my 442 over here, right? So I can just swap these out. I'm able to determine that 5 of them I could like just swap in and be a happy camper over here with my existing cards in my 442. Like 5 of them, I want to say I'm 90 something % sure work great. And why do they work great when they actually are not 440-B channels? They're MM1000 channels. So that big monolithic machine that you might see in Electric Ladyland, Jimi Hendrix's studio back in the day or whatever, these are the channels from those. What's the difference? Well, it's the same circuit, except there's switching electronics in the back of these channels, which allow for an MM1000 remote to be inserted between the heads and the channels. So what I did was revert these back to or 2 440B electronics. So they should be considered as all 440, all 8 of them 440B. And the reason I have one of them out is to kind of show all the spots here that were part of the switching circuitry on the back of this relay. So these have been heat sinked here and removed. So the switching circuitry is gone in these channels, and they should be considered as 440B. Now, the fact that only 5 of them seem to be working over in my other machine, it seems to have something else to do other than, I'm guessing it has something other to do than my mod here, because the mod is working on 5 of the 8 channels. Now, this is speaking only about the electronics, not the cards. So this is a confusing sort of scenario. But to the extent that these electronics are functioning and rebuilt, like every electrolytic capacitor outside of these filter caps has been replaced in here, which is like 1, 2, there's 3 caps, and then there's this one behind the card cage, which I have a note here that says it's replaced in 2014. It's really hardly been powered on much. Like I power it on occasionally, you know, every few months, and put in some of this zoom spout. That's what you want. The small turbine oil, like for sewing machines. So I'd always power it on in the like 20 years I've owned it, and occasionally add some to the capstan. Where was I here? Okay, so I just had this out to show that modification. I'll include the schematic there and where I highlighted what I did. It appears to be a working mod for these 5 channels. Now the other 3 have something else up with them, and I can't exactly tell what, but the first place I'd look is this record level pot and its calibration pot down in here. I mean, something might be shorting out in there, but what happens is it's like I get input signal, but and then one in repro, where is it? It's gone. So, you know, you could do worse than just buying 3 new 440B chassis and maybe even get some extra cards. Who knows? Moving on. Oh, one thing I want to say is, why is only half of it powered up, the channels? Well, the reason for that is, let's go around back here. Look at the power supplies. So both of these power supplies check out at 40 volts each. Like they're good. But this cable, this comes from the transport chassis here. So it's AC that's routed into the input of the 2 power supplies, which power all the 8 channels. And it goes, you can see by this connector, these cables right here. Let's see if I can get a better view. See that? So it goes into one connector, and then it goes series out of that connector into the next. So what it's doing is it's sending AC to one supply, and then out of that in series to the next power supply. But what's happened here is this AC is great up to this one power supply, and then after that series connection, something happens and it doesn't allow the other power supply to get the proper like AC connection, and I think it's in this connector. So that would be like priority number 1, or number 2 would be to just straighten out that connection, series connection, from one power supply out of this cable into the next, so it's getting its proper AC so it can put out its proper DC. But I've tested both of these power supplies with this input that works right here, and they're both putting out a proper 40 volt DC, which is supposed to be 39, but close enough. What else? I think that's about it. I can't think of really anything else. I mean, I'm gonna put pictures of the heads up on the auction, or however I decide to sell this, close-ups. You're not gonna see that much detail in the video anyway, but I'll discuss that there. And there's a whole bunch of extra 1-inch tape too that I need to talk about. It's mostly junker tape, and that's what this is, so I need to clean the heads and make them look nicer. But I'll put I'll assemble it and take some nice pictures, and that's about it. Oh, one other thing. When doing this diagnostic of this machine, you are going to run into some weirdness. Like, oh, I actually have a 1K tone coming out here. So I'm coming into number 3. And so each of these 4 channels that are powered up, you're going to see they're receiving input signal. Like, there it is, number 3. So inputs are always fine, it appears to me. You can route signal, and we're going into 2 here on input. You can route signal through the electronics chassis. But when you put them into repro, let me do that again. We'll take it down to 15. See, I'm not getting that 1K tone now on channel 2. I put it into input. There it is. So because this electronics chassis I know works from my 442 machine, yeah, that sends me down 2 paths, one of which could be cards related, and another could be some connection between the head output cables, which you would need. That's another thing that I would really do for someone restoring this machine, is disconnect the head pins, so you're not putting any test tone or DC or anything through the heads, but connect the output head connectors, or put an ohm meter on that, and then the inputs to the heads, and test continuity between the head pin outputs to the back of the electronics chassis, because I have a hunch with these chassis that I think are working that there may be something up there. I don't know. So what a confusing and ridiculous video. I hope somebody with some knowledge can get to the next phase here. So again, I don't know if I mentioned that the caps in the power supplies have not been replaced, but the power supplies are still good, and these filter caps have not been replaced, but every other electrolytic capacitor has been replaced. So we're talking like, half restored. So this thing's for sale. We'll see. Okay.